Welcome to the XY Advisor podcast, where it's our goal to help you become the best financial advisor possible and drive the positive evolution of financial advice.
Hey guys, Ben Nash from the XY Advisor crew, and I'm super pumped to be introducing this brand new series we're about to kick off all around the 3 Ps of Plan, Produce, Profit. Now, the XY team spent a lot of time thinking about what makes a great financial advice offering, a great financial advice business, and what we distilled it down to was that there are 3 key elements that you need to get right to have any level of success in your financial planning business. The first is about planning and how to plan an epic service proposition that's engaging for the people that you want to work with and compelling to drive real results within your business. The second is about producing, and that's about being efficient in your business, streamlining things, maximizing the benefits of technology to run a scalable and profitable advice service. And then the third is profit, which is all about getting your message out to a bigger market. How do you attract more people into this awesome offer that you're running efficiently and scalably? So I'm taking over the next 15 episodes. We're going to have 15 advisors, going to be 100% advisors. I've had a bunch of fun with the recordings that I've done so far, the interviews, and I've got a few more great ones to come. So I hope you enjoy this series.
This episode is proudly sponsored by FE Analytics. Now, a number of XY advisors have already discovered this one-stop, easy-to-use tool that helps with investment research, analysis, portfolio construction, ongoing monitoring, and client reporting. Find out how FE Analytics can help you improve your business process, manage your existing client base, and win new business by contacting Bruce Jenner via bruce.jenner, Jenner, at financialexpress.net or visit financialexpress.net for more information.
Mr. Wastle, mate, joining us from sunny Melbourne town. Thank you, thank you for being here. You're chatting today. We're part of this Plan, Produce, Profit series where we've been talking last little bit around planning a compelling service proposition. Today we'll be talking about produce and how do you run your business team time efficiently. And coming up in a few weeks' time, we've got profit, which is all around getting your message to the masses. And mate, Verse is an absolute juggernaut. So I could have definitely got you on for any of those series. But today we're talking all about produce. So looking forward to squeezing a bit of that gold, that down south gold from that beautiful brain of yours. So mate, before I get into the nuts and bolts though, just to, for anyone that isn't familiar with your business, so Verse Wealth, Melbourne-based, clients around the country. How long have you guys been going for?
Yeah, well, firstly, Nashy, thanks for having me, mate. Looking forward to having a good yarn with you, and hopefully it's valuable to people out there in cyberspace.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. It's founded Verse about 4.5 years ago now, early 2015. So we're still early on, but we're maturing finally.
Cool. And how long have you been an advisor for?
I've been an advisor for 8 years myself.
Cool. And what does your business do? Who do you help?
Sure. So we are providing personal and impactful financial advice to predominantly professionals that are typically between 35 and 55, making good money, disposable income, investing or ready to invest. And ultimately, we're doing that. Our why here at Verse is to help people live their best life. So we really believe, and I know you believe as well, that the quality of your life is defined by the quality of your decisions, and helping people be smarter with money really is a necessary step in helping them, fulfill their life with the things that are important to them. So, we're trying to deliver as much value to the right people as we can.
Awesome, man. So you're covering all different areas of finances. There's a fair sort of coaching element there from our previous chats. A bit of technical stuff, asset management, the whole box and dice sort of thing.
It's essentially the whole box of dice. So it's holistic in nature. It's built on a framework of values, goals, and financial challenges for individual clients and couples. And, we're covering that kind of broad scope of advice. So it's a combination of advice, it's strategy, it's coaching as well, and the right type of client, it's asset management too.
Cool. And how many clients do you work with at the moment?
Yeah, we've got about 75 what we call journey clients in the business at the moment, and also working, on a project basis with a number of clients as well.
Cool. And your team? What does your team look like?
Yeah, we've got a team of 5. So we've got myself, who's one of the financial advisors here. We've got Daniel Donovan, who's our head of operations and also doubles as a financial advisor. Got Michael back as our head of client experience at Human to Human. He's part of our team. Backy, we know that at some point the great man's going to be listening to this. So, MJB, I hope you are well. We've also got Doreen and Fritz, who Doreen's our head of client experience. She's our client experience manager, and Fritz is our client services administrator. They're both operating at 5L in the Philippines, but despite the distance, they are an integral part of our team, our culture, and what we're doing, and incredibly valuable as well. And beyond that, at the moment, we're looking for a new advisor to join the team, someone quite experienced. I don't know when this is going live, mate, but we just want the seek out.
Soon enough for this to still be relevant.
Right. A couple of days ago, and the firm is growing quickly, and we really need to bring in another experienced advisor to help us, help more people live their best life. So if you are listening to this and the content resonates with you, feel free to check it out.
All right. That's enough. Mate, I should have asked you if I could ask you.
Is that against the anti-XY selling philosophy?
That's right. I'm actually looking for another advisor as well. So, anyone in the market, hello@pivotwealth.com.au while we're plugging. I'll get in trouble for that. They might cut it out. But we'll see.
Clay might listen to the first 5 minutes of this and just say we can't run it, and it doesn't even get live.
I think there is a jobs board on the new platform because they're keen. I know that we get a lot of feedback from people that they're keen to connect advisors that are looking for people with good people. And in my view, I think a lot of the good people are in the XY advisor community. It's almost to the point that if you're not in there, I would say that you probably don't have a commitment to understanding what the best in advice actually is. To me, that sort of says something. So I've been sort of trying to sneakily ask the guys, how is it? How can I sort of tap into this? But I've just bit the bullet and hired a recruiter to help me with it. But there's stuff in the pipe on that, I believe.
Also, I actually checked out your XY jobs board the other day and made a post. And the simplicity of UX is brilliant. And like you said, and I think too, it's the most progressive community in advice by a mile. So, a lot of things we'll talk about today, given the progressive nature of the people listening to it, probably a lot of them are already across some of these things, and hopefully there's some other stuff that's helpful for them.
Yeah, that's it. Look, I think that the whole purpose of this series, we got 15 different advisors, different businesses. It's not to say that there's one way of doing things, because everyone that I've been talking to is successful in their own right. But one of the things that I found as an advisor, that the way that you learn and really, really, get to push the limits of what your potential is to go talk to 3 people that are doing something really well, and then pick the 1 or 2 little things that sort of jump out and resonate with you, that fit with your business, with the sort of clients that you want to work with your approach to doing stuff. And if you do that, then it gives you that fuel for that constant and never-ending improvement. And I think with the things that are going on in the marketplace, it's always important, but more important than ever, I would say. Revenue band. Can I ask you that? That's the thing I should have flagged with you before.
Yeah, sure. We're turning over about $75,000 a month at the moment.
Solid. And one of the questions I've been asking people is, how much time do you spend working in your business?
Yeah, great question. Historically, not enough, but in recent times, I've made a dramatic shift to spending far more of my time on the business rather than being in it. So part of what I've done in recent times is I've kind of mapped out every working day at a high level for 12 months. So I'm kind of blocking out, when am I on the business, when am I in the business. So I've got every Monday for me now I don't go to the office. I call it visionary time. It's time where I'm reflecting on myself, our team, our business, our direction. I might even spend half a day reading a book, which I know is going to elevate my thinking. And we have a day out of the business every month, which is for our team, our entire team, to go through our OKRs, which I know you're running too, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at some point. I have a week a month blocked out to dedicate entirely just to executing on our OKRs, which is really about developing and moving the company forward in an intentional way. And I've also now, I've blocked out every quarter, a week out of the business to really kind of renew and reflect on everything and rethink everything essentially. Now I would probably spend, if I had to put a ratio on it, I'd spend at least a third of my time working on the business.
That's awesome.
Perhaps even over 40% now, which I'm really enjoying, and it's more variable time than the time I spend in it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think that's one of the keys to making that sort of constant progress for sure. But it is so easy to do, to get caught up in that day to day and working with clients and being reactive and not being on the front foot. So I think that sort of brings up an interesting point, because we're talking for this part of the series all about efficiency, and I think it's easy for people when they think about efficiency to think about, well, how do I connect these two apps together, or build the tech stack out a bit further. But really, I think efficiency can come from a lot of areas. It's how you manage your time, how you manage your team. Obviously, technology is part of it, but how you're working with clients, how you build out your service proposition as well. So what do you see as the key sort of areas that are efficiency, and then how does that tie into, I suppose, your journey? Because clearly you got this focus on making sure that you're being efficient in how you're working on your business, how you're working with your clients and the team as well. So give us a bit of I suppose your take on that.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, most of probably what we're going to talk about today is what I've learned just through my own mistakes. And one thing that I'm really now obsessive about is being efficient personally. So when people think about efficiency, they're more just instinctively think about their business. And like you said, how do I make the system more efficient, or, add to my tech stack and those types of things. But like business time and personal time, it's all time. Like it's all really the same stuff. And I think it's intelligent to think about it that way. So you want to start with, setting yourself up for success, and making yourself at a personal level really efficient. And as simplistic as it probably sounds, like that means like being fixated on really kind of nailing sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And really, I think like in that order. I know that the times when I struggle with sleep, and I've had our first child in recent years, and I know you've just had Margot, and we've got our second child coming soon. Like when you don't sleep, your efficiency just and productivity and execution, it just goes out the window. Like if I decide to do an all-nighter tomorrow, I can guarantee you tomorrow I'll be incredibly inefficient. And then when it comes to like what you put in your body, like if next week I just eat junk food for literally like the whole week, the week after, I'm going to be incredibly inefficient. So if you can kind of get these pillars right to your own well-being, it makes you not just efficient like for 1 day or 2 days, but it makes it sustainable as well. Like you can operate at a higher level for longer periods of time. So I kind of start with that stuff, and that's the stuff that I don't really trade on. I don't trade on sleep. I don't trade on nutrition. I exercise regularly, and I know that when I give up on any of those things, and I have at points along the journey, like when you started the business and you're in startup mode and you're not profitable yet, and there's no systems and processes, and you haven't got the team, and then you have a baby and all this stuff, then you start trading on some of that stuff, and as soon as you start trading on it, which is a short-sighted decision, things just kind of start to crumble around you, and stuff just gets harder. So I start with that stuff, and then like beyond that, some of the stuff that I'm doing now is about kind of getting more granular. So I've started tracking where all of my time goes, like literally in half an hour blocks, 7 days a week. Where does every single bit of my time go?
Shit.
And then that goes into like an Excel spreadsheet, what I'm essentially trying to identify is what is the value of how I spent my time for the week or for the month. So I have like columns, right? So I'll have a column which is like, it's a $10 per hour activity. That's like checking emails, doing basic admin. I'll have columns that are like it's a $0 per hour activity. It's like preparing food, making dinner, doing grocery shopping, doing house maintenance, cleaning, you know, running errands, this kind of stuff. I'll have like drinking alcohol and that type of stuff. That's it's a negative per hour. But not in the short term. Like if you have 5 drinks, you don't just doesn't come out of your bank account. But if you're doing that regularly over a period of time, it's going to cost you money in the long run. And then I have like higher value activities, which could be like, you know, seeing clients and delivering advice to them, adding value to them. And that might be, say, a $100 per hour activity or a $250 per hour activity. But then even beyond that, then you've really got like the really leveraged activities like reconsidering our pricing model, developing new services, working on marketing campaigns, investing in our culture, you know, rebuilding a website, you know, all those types of high, you know, creating a board of directors, you know, spending time with mentors, all that kind of really high value stuff that tends to get pushed out of your life because you focus on all the low value stuff because that's all the urgent stuff. We get fixated on urgent rather than on important. So yeah, just this exercise of I've been doing it for only 3 weeks now. This exercise of tracking where you spend every minute of the day, it just gets you hyper aware. And just like a client we put on, you know, a cash flow system to automate the cash flow, their awareness around the spending goes up exponentially. Yeah. And when awareness goes up, the quality of decision making goes up. And it's the same thing here. So I started doing that, and once you do that, then the idea is to reflect on the data and go, right, well, what can I eliminate? So what are the activities? Where am I spending time? And it's really of no value, dependent upon my goals, right? So a no value activity could be I waste too much time on Netflix, too much time on Facebook, too much time on Instagram, or, you know, dicking around on LinkedIn and this kind of stuff. Or even stuff like, you know, I spend too much time cleaning my own house, preparing all my meals, doing grocery shopping, all this stuff. So a lot of that stuff I've eliminated, and some stuff I've had eliminated for a long time. Like I've got a cleaner, I've got a chef. When I used to have a garden, I had a gardener. So work out what you can eliminate and then work out what you can delegate. That's the outsourcing to cleaners and so on. And it just leaves more time and energy and space for high value activities that ultimately they have a higher value in a fiscal sense, but also, you know, investing all your time in the low value stuff doesn't make you much happier either. So creating the time for the high value stuff is going to move you far more aggressively to the goals that you've got in mind.
Love it. And so how do you actually do that? So if you're tracking your day in 30-minute increments, like how do you remember at the end of the day? Do you do it through the day? Things full on, man.
What was that, sorry?
That's full on.
Yeah. So, yeah, good question. So initially I thought, well, I'll just have an alarm on my phone for every half an hour that will go off. But then, like, I might be in a client meeting that might go for 90 minutes. So that doesn't really work. So I've just got into the routine of, you know, anywhere from, you know, 4 to probably 8 times a day, just going, oh, I need to update what I've been doing for last hour, last 2 or last 3 hours. And I'll just add it all in. And I'm kind of, when I go to bed one night, before I go to bed, I'm kind of planning tomorrow today in the sense that I know what I'm going to do for the first 3 hours of the day. So, right, like, you know, rise, 5:45, 15 minutes, get ready, go to gym, come home, have breakfast, half an hour family time, Uber to office. First half an hour at the office might be go meditate. And then it might be work on this one activity for an hour. So, you know, I'm kind of trying to set myself up for success each and every day as much as I can.
Interesting. And how long do you plan to do this for, this tracking?
My plan is to do it for a few months and work on what can I eliminate and what can I delegate and potentially what can I automate in a business sense. And then what I think I'll do is I'll go through a period of time where I don't do it and then I'll do it again. Kind of like a detox where I'll then go, all right, well, maybe bad habits are creeping in, complacency is creeping in, these are kind of natural tendencies, and maybe in 3 months or 6 months I'll do it again for a month. And then I'll you know, I'll refine even further from there.
Interesting. What's the most insightful thing that you've got out of it so far?
most insightful thing. The amount of time that I spend on my phone.
Yeah.
I kind of knew it already, but it's absurd. I've had an addiction to my iPhone for a long time. I think a lot of people have. I've deleted basically all of my apps. They're not there. I can't use them. And it's just amazing. Like, I start tracking my time on my phone, and 3 hours on the iPhone today, 4.5 hours on the iPhone today. Some of it's business calls and the like, but a lot of it's just wasted time that could be deployed towards high value activities.
I like it. I have a bit of a game with myself with it because they've got that thing, that weekly update thing that they give you on the iPhone that tells you what your screen time thing is. And I try to always make it less, although it does make it difficult if you're doing phone calls with your clients all day, then that's sort of part of it. But I get a real kick when it goes down each week. But it's easy. It's easy to do if you're not focused on it, I think.
Absolutely. And like with that in mind, like people trying to become more efficient in their life or in business, again, I think they're the same thing. Start with like, what can I eliminate? Like, where is my time being wasted? And get rid of those things. Because when you actually reflect on it, if you work out what your goals are, and then you work out where all of your time goes, so much of your time goes into things that aren't moving you towards your goals or creating real happiness for you. So if you're making any kind of reasonable money, get a cleaner, get a chef, get a gardener, do those basic things. Get rid of apps on your phone, watch less Netflix. Doesn't mean you need to spend every waking minute obsessing about what you're trying to achieve, but if you feel like you're not making the kind of progress you want to be making, then that's perhaps a reason to go ask that question of, well, where is my wastage and what can I eliminate?
For sure. Cool. And so for your 4.5 years into your business, I know that you've got a pretty pretty smooth sort of operation now. Tell us a bit about your journey with efficiency in the business side of the work that you do, working on your business, but with clients, and how you've gone about setting things up to where they are today.
Sure. It's been a real journey, and it's not like we've perfected anything, but we have become significantly more efficient, and we've operationalized the business to a really healthy degree in the last year or two. I think efficiency in the business sense is really a combination of great people, culture, and systems. And I say a combination of them because I kind of feel like to be really efficient on a sustainable basis, you need to have all three in place. So you're never going to be efficient without great people. So if you've got average to ordinary people in your team, you're going to be pushing uphill. Not even the best systems in the world can make you efficient with people that are disinterested and aren't focused. So you've got to get great people. And then you've got to make sure that they're in the right roles. So you've got to have, that old adage, you've got to have the right bums on the right seats.
Yeah.
And is a mistake that I've made in the past. And I'm sure I'm going to make it at different points into the future, but making some shifts in our team in the last kind of 18 months and getting the right people into the right roles has been a real game changer for us and a real learning for me personally. So got to get great people and got to have them in the right roles. Then you've got to get the best out of them. But getting the best out of them means giving them a great culture and a great working environment. And, culture is a lot of different things to different people, but I think if you boil it down to have a great culture, you have to be obsessive about your people and believe your people are your most important resource by a mile. And then if you believe that, it'll dictate all of your actions thereafter, which will be about setting people up for success and developing them and teaching and educating them and looking after them and making sure they're happy. And if you've got great people that are happy, what they do is they give you great work. Like they're focused, they're committed, they care. And because they're focused, committed, and they care, they get more done every day. They're way less likely to make mistakes. And mistakes are incredibly inefficient. Like if you want to be more efficient, you've got to make less mistakes, and to have less mistakes, you have people that are focused and committed and care. So you've got to get that right. And then beyond that, you have to create great systems. And this is something like has been a huge challenge for us. It's going to be a challenge forever. But like when we started, because we didn't buy a book, we didn't go and buy an existing business, like we really started from scratch. And we had no systems or no processes. So it means like every time you got to do something, you're kind of like doing it from scratch and things are really laborious. So we've really worked hard to try and operationalize the business by creating as many systems and processes as we can. So, yeah, and I'm not even the guy in our team that does that. Like Daniel, our head of operations, is incredibly operationally minded, which makes sense if he's in operations. And
I'm on the right seat there, you might say.
Absolutely. You know, like I'm sure at some point he'll listen to this. He has been an integral part, this underselling it, in helping us become really efficient last year or two. But we've created systems for as many things as we can, you know, like the whole advice process, the whole client experience, like it's all a system, it's all mapped out, it's all documented. There's instructional videos for like every single thing you could do in the business as a teammate, dependent upon your role. So if someone new comes into the business, you know, someone doesn't have to sit next to them for the first 6 months and say, this is how you do this thing, let me show you, this is how you do this thing. It's just a video that's been recorded. It's in a catalogue with 100 other videos. You know, if it's how do you set up, you know, an account-based pension on net wealth, it's just a video to watch to show you how to do that. So that combination of great people, a great culture, and great systems is I think, kind of at a high level how you need to think about it.
And so, because Daniel's been in your business only for, is it 12 months and a bit, or am I close?
About 15 months.
Yeah. So how did you approach things before that?
We had another client experience manager. Daniel was our client experience manager before moving into the head of operations role. But we essentially didn't have different philosophies. We didn't have different thinking. We didn't devalue systems. We just didn't have the right people in the right roles that were system-minded and knew how to build systems. I'm never going to be the guy to be able to build great systems for a business and operationalize it. Like, my mind just doesn't work that way. I'm not that way inclined. It doesn't get the best of me. And we didn't have that person in our business that was amazing at that. Yeah. If you don't have that person, it's like, again, come back to good people in the right roles. You don't have a great person in the right role. Like, it's never actually going to happen. It's like trying to sell your product or service. If you don't have a great salesperson in the sales role, no one's ever going to sell it. It doesn't mean you devalue sales. It just means it's not going to happen. So that was the shift.
Right. So you would have done your wealth dynamics profile before. What's your profile?
My wealth dynamics profile. Tip of my tongue, mate.
Creator? Star?
No.
Star. You're a star. Trader?
No.
Accumulator? Lord?
No.
Fuck, you're testing my limits here. Not mechanic, given what you said there.
You allowed to swear on the podcast? Can we do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks for the green light. I can't recall, but just as we're talking about this, one of the other shifts we made, which has helped with execution.
Supporter,
yeah. So supporter was my highest one, and then beyond that, I think it was creator.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. That was bothering me.
Yeah. So one of the big changes we have made, which I just wasn't thinking about a moment ago, was we adopted a framework called OKRs, which I know you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And I'll explain it in a moment. Some are going to be familiar with it. Most probably won't. And it's a framework essentially designed to help a company set the right goals, make them measurable. This is across the whole company, right? Not just like the CEO or senior management, the whole company. So set the right goals, make them measurable so you know when you're achieving them or not achieving them, and then reverse engineer the actions you need to take to achieve the measurable outcomes.
Yeah.
So we adopted this at the start of this year. So start of 2019, we went away for a 4-day team retreat and we launched the OKR framework. So O stands for objectives, KR stands for key results.
Yeah.
It is a goal-setting framework essentially made famous by Google The two Google founders adopted it quite early in the process. A guy called John Doerr came and worked for them, and he had seen a business use this OKR concept to I guess, good success. And they adopted this framework 20 years ago, and they do credit a lot of their exponential growth, like their ability to perpetually innovate and create like incredible rates of growth, down to this 90-day loop OKR system that they adopted.
Yeah.
So we adopted this in Jan, as I said, and what it's really done is it has shifted our focus from doing stuff to focusing purely on outcomes. So like we've probably been in this trap where you're like, I'm going to do this project, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to put my time here and focus on this. But ultimately, like, it's really hard to measure the success of that activity. And quite often your business ends up going in the direction that it just ends up going, rather than being incredibly intentional about where am I taking it, how am I going to take it there. So the idea is that we as a company set our O's, these are our objectives, and they're basically like one-line statements that get the whole company excited, and it's a goal really worth shooting for. So we've got 4 OKRs, it's 4 O's, sorry, and one of the O's is provide a world-class client experience. So that's the O, right? That gets us excited from a long-term standpoint. And then the question becomes, so what are the KRs? What are the measurable ways we're going to measure the success to tell us that we're moving towards delivering a world-class client experience? So then it's things like, all right, well, we've got to start measuring our NPS and Net Promoter Score. And we know based on research that to be considered world-class, you need an NPS of 80 or above, which is stunningly hard to obtain. And we've recently surveyed the entire client base, and our NPS at the moment is 43, which characterizes a service business which is kind of around excellent, but by no means world class. Like 43 to 80 it's a long road.
Yeah.
So we've got our O, and now we know how we can measure it with our KR. Then the question becomes, all right, well, as a team, over the next 90 days, what actions do we need to take to move the needle on this KR? So you're kind of reverse engineering all your actions. You've got goals worth aspiring to, you know how you're going to measure it, and then you set your actions and you measure the outcome of your actions. And every 90 days you kind of reflect and go, all right, well, what progress have we made? Measurable progress. Are we on track? If we are, great. If we're not, and we're not going to hit that KR, then by default you ask the question of, well, are we taking the right actions? Do we need to change these actions? Do we need to scrap these actions? Do we need to think up new actions? So you're not wedded to what you're doing. You're wedded to the outcome. And the actions they're the replaceable part of the whole process. So what this has done, and I can't undersell this. I know you're using OKRs now. I'd be interested to hear how you found it. But it just creates this laser focus for everyone in the team as to like where should we channel our time, energy, and effort, and it decentralizes innovation and decision making. So now the whole company is empowered. Every single person is empowered to like make decisions, to innovate, to challenge things, to be involved in the process of growing and improving the business, rather than just being the cog in in the broader wheel. So that's something we've been doing now for about 9 months, and I see us doing it for a very long time. And if you want to become more efficient within the business and you have a team, even if you don't, if you're a one-man startup, before you have a team, I would recommend OKRs.
Absolutely. And look, I think it's a very interesting point that you make, because I think I already said that a lot of people get caught up with efficiency thinking it's technology or something, and it's been very interesting having a few conversations like this over the last little bit. But that's quite a different one quite a different response to what some of the other people have mentioned, which is it really, and I think it's 100% valid though, that you think about efficiency, and efficiency is, let's be efficient in our day-to-day and make sure we're, using time effectively. But a massive part of that is like, what is it? What are we focused on, and where are the energies going, and why are we doing this, and setting people up, for success. So I absolutely love that. I'm actually not using OKRs. We use a similar process around. It's loosely based on the Rockefeller approach with critical drivers that we clearly define success. It just doesn't have the same label, although it's similar-ish. And for me, I've noticed it's a total game changer because it gives me permission to park things that are good ideas, whereas I think it's really easy as a business owner and something that can lead to a lot of inefficiency, and something that I've personally experienced this, that you get an idea and you go, great, you go, that's a thing, okay, I'm going to start working on that, and then you go, oh, there's a market opportunity over there, I can make some money doing this other thing, and then you're like, oh, and this needs to be improved, and that needs to be fixed, and I could tighten up this process with this other thing, and you just end up so scattered that you like you're constantly changing and everything, and it gets overwhelming, and then you can lose focus on getting so caught up on all these different projects and initiatives that it can take your focus away from one, you're not doing any one of them efficiently or following them through to completion, or they are getting completed but just very slowly. And the other thing is that you're not focused on your core business, which is like making clients happy, get more clients, make more money.
Yeah.
So I think that focus is not to be undersold. So just so that I can understand how it actually translates in a practical sense. So you talked about yours being your O, which is get to 80 on the NPS, and then you want to move the needle from 43 to 80. Is the if you've broken down into your 90-day periods or whatever, is it just that your KR becomes get to 47 or 50 or something like that? Is that how you iterate on the KR to get to the O, or does it involve something else?
So just to clarify, that the O is not measurable. The O is
it's
almost like a vision.
Sorry. Yeah.
And the KR, the key result, that's the measurable outcome that tells you that you're achieving the O. So
right.
It depends on what KRs you have. Some KRs should get measured annually. Some should get measured quarterly. Some should get measured monthly as well. Like if you're talking about NPS, maybe you do that quarterly or every 6 months. But if you're talking about things like conversion or revenue or new client numbers, you probably want to do that monthly. So it's kind of horses for courses. And what you have is, or what we have, I should say, is we have like a Google Sheet that the whole team uses. So it's really transparent. Like everyone in our team knows what activities I have committed to on behalf of the team for the next 90 days. And I need to keep updating them as to where I'm at with them. It's all on a Google Sheet, and that has the activities or the actions we're taking, but also the measurements as to how we're progressing towards those KRs as well.
I love that. The cogs are turning in my mind, because I'm thinking our team has grown from me and Yang in January to 5 of us now, and I'm just trying to figure out how do we translate that operationally and to do it in an efficient way. And I think we've got great people, and you get great people, and that's sort of a big half of the battle, but there's another big gap missing. So I like it.
Yeah, we can talk about great people and great culture, but great people and great culture isn't enough, because we used to have great people and great culture, but we weren't efficient. We didn't have the systems. We didn't necessarily have the right people, the right roles either. So there's there's so many elements to it, and like I said, it's just a journey. We're trying to learn from as many mistakes as we possibly can. Is probably the best way to explain it.
Absolutely, man. That's it. That's the great game of business, right? So, I think that's awesome. I'm definitely going to go do a bit of homework on that one and see what we can borrow. But mate, one of the things that you have helped me with, I remember we had a conversation at the great man's wedding, which
what a wedding too! One of the great weddings.
It was indeed, yes. So old Monty was having a ball, and I was experiencing an ultra frustrating time in my business with our conversion rates, which was just shit house. Yeah. And that was then impacting business performance, obviously, and ultimately bank account balance, which is never a good thing. And we got to chatting about your conversion rate, which was something like above 90% at that time. And I was just like, holy crap. And for me, I was having this real, and the conversation that we had was that I was having this massive disconnect between when I got a client was blown away. They were super stoked. They're like, this is amazing, super happy. They will get constantly getting feedback that service is worth more than what we're charging, and people are happy. But then when you're having these sales conversations, essentially trying to explain the value of the service to people, that it was just, there was a bit of a disconnect there. So we've been spending a lot of time working on a whole bunch of different initiatives, but got to talking to you about your approach. Clearly those, I think, anyone listening would be happy with the conversion rate above 90%. But one of the things that you said that was a big game changer for you in your journey and how you approach things, and I know it's changed slightly over time, but was around sort of charging for your for the introductory, the discovery session or whatever, alignment session, and how that then flows through to your to running your client onboarding efficiently. So can you just sort of talk through how you've ended up where you have and how you're going about things now?
Yeah, sure. So probably it was a bit over 2 years ago, we made some really wholesale changes to like our acquisition or onboarding process, however you want to define it. And it really was to solve a couple of really obvious challenges. Number one was conversion from our discovery meeting to becoming a new client. Number two was resolving a rescheduling or a cancellation issue as well. We're having a lot of people, reschedule and put back discovery meetings. This is before we've kind of met them for the first time. And what we did was we did a few things, but there's two things we did that are probably worth sharing. So number one is we started charging $195 for our discovery session. Our discovery session goes for 90 minutes. It doesn't involve any financial advice whatsoever. It really is an in-depth personal conversation, and it's now technology-enabled but advisor-led to capture someone's values, what's most important to them in life, capture their goals, what they're working towards, the milestones they're trying to achieve, and then the financial challenges that they might have. So that's the practical or even the emotional things that get in the way of them making great progress with money or building wealth or even just feeling in control of their finances. We do that over 90 minutes. And previously, we had a conversion rate from that session to new client, and there's a step or two in between, but the conversion rate from that session to new client was about 55%. We'll kind of oscillate from some quarters it could be like below 40%, another quarter might be 65, but 50 to 55% was kind of that average. So what we did was we started charging for that meeting, but before they even pay for it, we introduced a session before that, which is a video-only session that goes for 45 minutes called an alignment session for the sole purpose of doing what the name suggests, like working out whether, should we do this? Are we aligned? Are we a fit for you? Are you a fit for us? So we would, we get the inquiry, our CXM would have the introductory phone call, go for a couple of minutes. Hey, tell us why you've reached out. Great. First step of the process is this video call. It's called alignment session. Here's the purpose of it. Work out whether a fit. The advisor's going to cover these things with you. Let's book it in. You complete a quick survey beforehand, share some information so we're well informed, and then we'll have that session with you. So we'd have this 45-minute alignment session via video, and basically what we would do in essence is set great expectations. Get them talking about them, their reasons for reaching out, what's working, what's not working, all high-level stuff, and what they might value in terms of getting advice. And then we say, okay, great, we can help with those types of things. Here's how we help people. Here's what we're about. Here's our approach. Here's how our service and pricing works. Ask us any questions that you want. We're an open book. And we kind of, the roadblocks that were stopping people going ahead further down the track, i.e. they're not going to see value, they're not aligned, they don't want an advisor in their life consistently, they are overly price sensitive, they have a husband that doesn't want to be involved, but we don't figure that out until they book their discovery and the one wants to come, but the husband doesn't, so they keep rescheduling, then they cancel. We just did all this stuff up front. And what it meant was that when people went from the alignment to the discovery, and that's not everyone, our conversion from alignment to discovery is currently, it's about 60%. right? So still plenty of people aren't going ahead.
Yeah.
These ones that do come into the discovery and we invest that 90 minutes face-to-face, and we prepare like a client agreement, and then we have a session to tell them how we're going to help at a high level. We'll paint a picture before they sign the client agreement. We're putting in like 3-4 hours there. It just means that when you put those 3-4 hours in, there's like this really high degree of certainty they're going to become a client, because you've put it on steroids. You've resolved all the potential issues. They've got all their important questions out. You know they're an aligned client. They know they're an aligned client. So they come in, they're excited, they're engaged, they don't reschedule, they pay their 195. So there's a financial hurdle that jump. It's a sign of commitment. And it just means that from there, they become clients. So the conversion rate for us now is about 95% from discovery to new client. So that's where it's at the moment. And we're actually in the process, as part of our OKRs, of basically disrupting the whole thing and rebuilding it to make it a shorter process, a much shorter process, and to make it less key person dependent upon me at this point in time. But that were big game changers for us. So I would recommend, if you're an advisor out there and you are like trying to get people into this first meeting and they're no showing, or they're rescheduling a lot, or your conversion's nowhere near where you want it to be, improve the level of pre-vetting in a systematic and repeatable way, and then charge for your time for that first meeting. And if you just do those two things, it'll make you more efficient, because you're not going to spend time on people that don't become advice clients.
For sure, yeah. And I think that when I hear that, I would say 3 or 4 hours time. That's a lot of time that you're spending for someone before they become a client. But mate, if you're converting it at 60% into the session, and then 95% from that session, you'd take that. Obviously, we're talking about efficiency, and the reason that you're on here is because you're not happy to settle for that. And clearly, there's some way that you can do tighten things up. But that is an astounding, like, in terms of those numbers. I know that for me, and I've said this to you, but I think I've tried to use an paid intro meetings before. We did it for a period of time, and I fell into the trap of feeling that I needed to give a crazy amount of value to people in these sessions, and also to just not acknowledging the value that comes from reasonably simple to us conversations around helping people get clear on their goals as well. I like to put it in context. When I first started doing it, we were charging $220 or something, and doing a 2-hour session, which would often turn into a 2.5-hour session, and unpacking frameworks around our approach to banking, as well as the other part that we were doing, or talking high level about some investment stuff as well. And what I found was that I was actually doing the people that came to these sessions, I was doing them a disservice, because I was giving them too much information that they actually couldn't go and implement it themselves, because you can't walk away from a 2-hour phone call, a 2-hour meeting or video call or whatever, and to be able to roll out a framework that we've spent years sort of refining and developing. But it gave them the illusion that they could, because they could see the stuff there. And I think that one of the things that we face a lot with people with their money is that people think that there's this like shame, or there's like a shame element of our clients with their money when they first come to see us, because money, everyone's got money, right? Everyone gets a paycheck, the money hits their bank account, and people spend money, and they go, well, like, it's just money. It should be pretty easy. But as we know, that there are so many sort of aspects to it. But I was giving the people the illusion that they could go and do this. And then I found that, and I've since converted some of the clients, but 12 months later, because they walk away, they think that they've got this sort of false hope, think that they can do it themselves. And then they realize after time, when they're actually just not getting results over a longer period of time, that they actually can't do it themselves. So I wouldn't suggest that as a way of going about things. But I think that for anyone listening that's thinking about toying with the paid intro meeting, don't feel like you don't undersell the value that we do give. I've still got this page on my website about the paid intro meeting, and what I did, because I'm not charging for intro meetings, But what I did is on that page, I just put the price up on the website to $660, and I just left it there. Never promoted it. It's sort of behind. It's like you can get to it, but it's not promoted.
Wow.
And I had a client that just randomly went on the website that I didn't know. They didn't call us up or anything, and they booked and paid for the $660 for the session. And I ran the intro meeting exactly the same way that I now run. We do these free intro meetings, which are sort of like 60 minutes, an hour and 15, depending on, how keen the client is, sort of thing. And I rolled out exactly the same framework, and for $660. And at the end, I was like, guys, I was really conscious, because I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. They've just booked this thing and they didn't ask me. If they would have asked me, I wouldn't have told them not to pay for it. But they were stoked. They were like, oh, yeah, that was great. I'd love that. We got those philosophies, did that goal setting thing. They were blown away. So I think it's a trap that it's easy to fall into as an advisor, that you just do stuff day to day and just asking people questions, which can be like the, questions that they may not have thought about, or things that you test their, how the purpose behind the things that they say. And there is an immense amount of value in that. But yeah, I think
there's a few lessons in that. Like,
yeah,
one is that, like, things that are free, people just don't value them that much. It's good to get free stuff. If it's free, you don't really place a significant value on it. And quite often, paying a lot of money for something can make it more valuable. Doesn't mean it's going to give you a better, financial outcome necessarily, because the more you pay for something might diminish the financial outcome, but paying more for something doesn't make it less valuable. Quite often it feels more valuable. And the things that we get for free, that we don't have to give anything up to get them, we tend not to value them so much. I think one of the other learnings there as well, like you're saying, is that you don't need to kind of go and give the house away to win a client. Like, defining someone's problems and having them know you understand their problems incredibly well is like 10 times more important in a sales process than actually solving them. If they are certain that you really understand their problems, they're going to feel pretty certain that you know how to solve them as well. And I think advisors just kind of go into solution mode kind of straight away, and it's actually not necessary. Then you're kind of you're devaluing what you're doing, because you're giving it all away for free. And there's competing arguments around all this kind of stuff as well. I do think that in the early phase of a sales process, I don't even like the term, but it's just a general term for like an acquisition phase of a service business.
Of course.
Defining problems and having people feel incredibly well understood. Like, if you ask better questions and listen better than anyone else that they've ever met in their life, and help them get a level of clarity around what's important to them and what's holding them back than anyone else has ever done in their life, from that point, getting them on board as a client becomes a lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that we really focus on now. And there are no answers at the start in our process. And I think it's almost like if you go too much into solution mode, like in my experience, you're almost doing your potential clients a disservice, because they just don't know. They don't know what to absorb. Then they don't think, is this something I should just do? Because we sort of make out like it's easy, like we're these experts and we understand it, which we do. But it's when they try to walk out of the office and try and translate that to stuff, it just doesn't work. So it's almost like you need to give them find that right balance where you demonstrating you understand the problems, without having confusing them too much along the way.
Yeah, what's that old saying? Like, people don't buy drills; they don't buy drill bits; they buy the hole in the wall or something.
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. In the financial planning context, people aren't buying the strategies; they're not buying the tactics; they're not buying the investment portfolio. They're really buying the outcomes and things that are important to them that they think great financial advice is going to help facilitate in their life. So they're really focused on how to find that incredibly well, and that'll make it easier.
Absolutely, and I imagine that with the having that structured approach to your new client conversations and guiding them through those really clearly defined steps and spending that extra time up front. Have you found that that's flowed through to your efficiency in actually the onboarding process then for clients? Because I'd imagine that doing things in such a structured way would really allow you to get them into the groove of how you go about things, which then has flow through benefits, not just the fact that you're converting strong and you're not wasting your time, but then it makes it easier to actually onboard the client.
Absolutely. Like, someone said this to me recently, like a business is just a collection of good systems. I think it's more than that, but it involves a collection of good systems. And if you want to get efficient, you actually have to have like a system or a process in place that you can iterate and make more efficient. Like if you don't actually have the process in place, then you're just kind of like haphazardly like doing stuff and hoping things kind of magically get better over time. But when you actually put a process in place and you document it for the first time, then you've got a benchmark. Then you can run that process, and then you need to have a rhythm to reflect on it and go, is this process working? Could the process be more efficient? How do we iterate this process to make it better? And then over time, if you just keep doing this consistently, over time you get a whole bunch of systems, and then the systems start talking to each other, and it becomes really smooth and it becomes really predictable as well. So we probably spent more time systemizing the onboarding phase of the client experience and any other phase of the experience, and that now is a collection of systems that tend to work really well with each other. So it just means onboarding is really, really efficient.
Love it, mate. As I say, I think it is so super easy to get caught up in tech and trying to squeeze the juice on that side. But some of the basics of the stuff that we're doing day in and day out is really where a lot of our time is spent. So anything you can do to make that time more efficiently spent, the better.
Yeah.
We could talk about this all day, no doubt. But tell me, what do you think? Where do people go wrong? You may have alluded to some of this already, but where do you think people go wrong when it comes to efficiency?
I reckon maybe you mentioned it at the start of the podcast. I think that people think about it on too granular a level. Like they just think about like, what is that app that I need to add to my tech stack? Yeah. Or how do I get this app talking to that app? When I think before you want to think about efficiency, you want to think high level. You want to you can be doing stuff every day and be really busy and be really efficient because you're getting the things that you chose to do done efficiently. But if they're the wrong things and they're the wrong activities, then you're going like you're going in a direction, but you're going in the wrong direction. So
yeah.
Like, first and foremost, it's about like working out what direction you're going in. This is where the OKR framework has been really helpful for us. And I used to fall into this trap all the time. Like I used to kind of like go home from a day in the office and kind of like be really happy with myself. Think I was really efficient and productive today. I got all these things done and I ticked 14 things off my to-do list. Whereas now, like I think you're an idiot, Corey. Like you were doing so many things, but half those things were things maybe you should have eliminated or delegated that weren't really, accelerating you in the direction that you're trying to go. So I think people need to start thinking at that higher level before they start thinking about efficiency. And they also, need to, as I said earlier, like think about it on a personal level and how can I make my entire life, not just my time in the office, how can I make my entire life more efficient and more productive and shift from low value activities to high value activities? And it means being quite ruthless, and it means really being really disciplined. But I think they're really necessary in becoming efficient.
Yeah, I think it's our lives are getting more and more sort of merged with working life. For me, I know that there's no difference. I'm on leave right now, clearly. But all of the things, and it's not even that you have to be doing the highest value activities, but it's do that or do the stuff that's going to bring you real happiness or enjoyment. Like there's a lot of things that you want to prioritize. It doesn't mean you have to work 100 hours a week, but it should mean that you're working efficiently in the time that you want to work, so that when you're not, then you can do the stuff that you really want to be doing.
Absolutely. Like as part of that tracking system I have, like family time is a high value activity for me because it makes me happy. It keeps my family happy. Downtime and renewal time, is a high value activity. Like genuinely relaxing, reading a book for pleasure, like exercising, they're high value activities because they're kind of like they're all that stuff. Like it's a meditation. It's a force multiplier. You take 20 minutes to meditate. Every other minute of the rest of your day is more valuable because if you're a practice principal or a director or however you define yourself, like you're in the brain game. And this is something I've had to learn the hard way as well. Like I always just have this great work ethic, and I still have a great work ethic, but I used to kind of define myself on my work ethic and go like the harder I'm working, the more I'm putting in, the less rest I'm getting. It's just making me tougher and all this insane stuff.
Yeah.
And what that was doing, like, because I was burnt out for a long time, what that was doing was like depleting my energy, depleting my ability to focus on things, but also most importantly, like diminishing my ability to be a really good decision maker and have great judgment. Like if you're in that practice principal role, like your role more than anything is to be a great decision maker and deploy great judgment. And, I have points along the journey where like I'm working so hard, I've got not enough downtime, I'm not doing the things that I'm telling you, you need to be doing. And I'll have days where like my brain is just like, it's like a car with like fumes coming out of it. And I can't even think straight. And then like the team will ask me this really important question, or we need to solve this really important problem. And like in my mind, I'm like, my brain right now, I'm setting myself up for failure because I don't have the capacity to think with a level of clarity and focus that I actually need to fulfill this role really well for the team and for the clients. So like, one thing I've really been trying to work on is that, less is more. Now I don't work nearly as hard as I used to. And the concept of like putting in a long week for me, it's actually it's not that I'll never do it, but it's not an intelligent week. If I can confine my working time to 40 hours a week, and of that, 15 of those hours can be spent, in a cafe, in a relaxed environment with a cup of green tea, and I'm critically thinking about the business at a higher level. Like that's a more productive and a more efficient week for me than working my butt off and doing 12, 14-hour days.
I love it, mate. I don't care what they say about you Victorians. You're got a few good ideas in there for sure.
We're doing okay down here. Not as sunny as you described earlier, but there's still plenty of reasons to come down to Melbourne, mate. And checking out Verse HQ is one of them.
Mate, it's magical up here at the moment, so we're blessed.
Well, it's hard to know with you, mate. Like you've got a white T-shirt on, but like you've like Daniel and our team said, like Ben Nash, does he ever wear anything other than a white T-shirt?
I don't. This is a freshie. This is straight out of the box, Everlane. $20. I got the pocket back because I got these ones without a pocket, and I just really missed the pocket because I can take my glasses off, put them in the pocket. They stay there. It's good. That's an efficiency play, mate. Decision fatigue. I don't want to waste time trying to make decisions about my outfits, and no one except for Daniel notices anyway. So,
absolutely. What I was going to ask you is, do you have a sponsor for the white T-shirts?
No, it's a good idea. Although I'm thinking about embroidering the Pivot logo on there so I can get some tax deductibility out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And the sponsor too. Like now with your leverage and your personal brand, Ben. You would have labels jumping at you.
Oh yeah. Plus, I'm for people where inclusivity is important. I'm even interviewing Victorians now, so I'm all about equality and all of the things. Mate, before I let you go, I just want to hear a couple of quick ones for you. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Jeez, that's a good question. Without notice, I received a bit of advice 2 weeks ago from a guy called Joe Duran, who runs a firm in the US called United Capital.
Oh, yeah.
And probably has done a better task than anyone in the world of scaling personal and impactful financial advice and digitize the whole thing. And I had the real privilege of having a coffee with him in his office in Newport in California a couple of weeks ago. And there was a lot of good advice. But one of the questions I asked him was, do you think about your business as a legacy? And he kind of immediately laughed at me and said, hell no. No, I don't. And I'd always thought of my business as being a personal legacy and being an expression of who I am. But he said, I built and sold my first business by the time I was 33. And then when I sold it, I had no identity left anymore. Didn't know who I was completely lost. I had all this money, more money than I ever needed for the rest of my life. And I was miserable. And I went through that process and I learned that, I'm not my business. My business is just a thing. Like he pointed out this apartment building and said, I think about my business now like that apartment building. I had a vision for it. I built it. I created it. And then I sold it so other people could use it and get value out of it. And he said, at no point ever is my business ever going to cry for me. It's never going to give me a hug when my mum gets sick. It's never going to be there at my wedding. Like it's literally just a thing, really. And he said, it's not until you can think about it with that level of pragmatism that you're going to be able to remove your emotion and all your inherent personal biases from your decision making. And if you really want to build a great business, you need to get really good at that. So that was, for me, that was some really valuable advice. Don't know if it was the best advice I've ever had, but certainly a value.
I like it. No, very interesting. And last one, what's your spirit animal?
I don't know. A tiger?
A tiger. Ooh.
Explain the spirit animal concept to me.
Oh, come on, man! Really? It's like what's the animal that you feel encapsulates and embodies your spirit or something?
Do I get to choose, or is it based on when I was born?
No, you choose. Yeah, it's like what you feel is reflective.
Ah, yeah, okay. Spirit animal. Dolphin.
The dolphin.
I just said dolphin because I saw one in San Diego a few weeks ago. I really don't know who my spirit animal is. Is that bad?
It's terrible. You're fired.
Did we close the shop?
Probably, yeah. How can you succeed in life without a spirit animal?
Yeah. Does that mean we're going to can this podcast?
It could do. I'll have to let the editors that be.
I'll have to. Maybe I'll send you an email tomorrow, and you can add it in the show notes.
We'll just post it to the top of the Facebook group for everyone that's wondering.
Post and pin.
Legend, mate. Corey, thank you very much. I love it, man. Different approach, but I think some real gold there. Awesome, man. So good. Thank you.
Thanks, Benny. Pleasure to talk with you, mate, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Cool.